I told Paulie I wanted to get Michael Wilbon on. He goes, all right, well, I love Wilbon. I said, well, you're going to really want to hear what he has to say. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I think he said this on Pardon the Interruption. I'm going to tell you something now that you're going to think is preposterous. Aaron Rodgers is going to be in a Bears uniform sometime in the next couple of years. That's going to happen. All right, Wilbon, let me start there.
Dan, it's good to see you, first of all.
Good to see you, Mike.
And I can understand from the Packers' standpoint drafting him. They made this work once. They did the same thing X number of years ago with Favre, and they drafted young Aaron Rodgers. I just don't necessarily get the arrogance of it. We're not going to tell him. We're not going to. And they pursued him. It's like Aaron Rodgers fell to the Packers when they drafted him. Love, they pursued him. They moved him to draft him. So you don't even include Rodgers in. You went 13-3 last year. You neglected to get anybody who might help him. I saw the stat last night that he's had fewer touchdown passes to a first-round draft pick than like any quarterback ever.
Yeah.
Certainly anyone going to the Hall of Fame. And it's just like, wow. So I was joking around, Dan, and then since then, I've had all kinds of people text me, including some in the NFL, who said, dude, you don't even know how right you could be. Now, it won't be the Bears because the Packers just won't deal them to the Bears. But it's going to be somebody. I care about the Bears, so I wanted it to be them. It's going to be somebody. It doesn't look like this is going to last for long, does it?
Mike, I think it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he'll be known as Jolly Roger, and we put him in the Buccaneers uniform, and he takes over for Tom Brady. It's too easy, Mike. It's too easy.
That is easy. Although, Dan, that even presumes he would last like a year or so more in Green Bay. And I have to wonder, you're Matt LaFleur, the arrogance, it's unbelievable. Just, can you handle it differently? Do people never learn anything about the way you handle something? Apparently not.
Well, also, you can't be on the job for a year. As I said yesterday, it's called the Lombardi Trophy, not the LaFleur Trophy. Like, let's slow down a little bit. And all of a sudden, if it's true that you're tired of his passive-aggressive attitude, this is the same attitude he has had. I've known him, 14 years. He hasn't changed. This is who he is, even before he became Aaron Rodgers. So you're going to have him there. Why sign him to this contract if you don't like the passive-aggressive nature? You want to change your philosophy here. You want to be more run for. I just don't understand how it seems backwards with what they're doing. Hey, we're going to sign you to the richest contract,
yes.
And then all of a sudden we're going to decide we want to change our philosophy here. He had 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions last year. That's a bad year for him because he's being compared to him.
Dan, this is the question is, it's a one-word question. It's like when people watch The Last Dance and they hear Jerry Krause continually say in real time, 22 years ago, he wants to, Phil Jackson, you can't come back. Well, wait a minute. He's won 5. Why not? Why? It just becomes why? Why are you doing this? Why? Yeah. What are you, Matt LaFleur and whoever the GM whose name I can't pronounce, what the hell are you doing? And you just ask the same question over and over. And of course, Dan, they're not going to supply an answer because they don't have to, which is the ultimate in arrogance. That's what it is. It's asking Jerry Krause, why do you want to get rid of Scottie Pippen? You found him. You brought him. You drafted him. What? You brought Phil Jackson in and sat him on somebody else's bench. Why do you want to get rid of him? They have no answer. It's unbelievable arrogance. It just is.
I'll get to some basketball stuff in a moment, but if I said you could have Cam Newton or Andy Dalton as a backup quarterback with the potential to compete for the starting job, who would you take since Andy Dalton was released by the Bengals? Andy
Dalton for backup. I don't want Cam Newton in there. Cam Newton's used to being a big star.
Yeah.
He just is. Do I want Cam? No, if you ask me without the codicil of backup quarterback, who do you want more, Andy Dalton or Cam Newton? I want Cam Newton. But I don't know whether Cam Newton's healthy, of course. But I also don't know that I want Cam Newton there for backup purposes. Because I don't think if he's healthy, that ain't going to last long, and it may not go well even if he isn't.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think Cam is wired to be a backup quarterback. I think Andy Dalton could be a backup quarterback. A couple of things here. Obviously, with the Jordan documentary, we were both there on the front lines witnessing all of this. Is there anything that you didn't know through the first 4 episodes?
Yeah, like I did. So, like I mentioned, we all knew the stress between Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson, especially when he started bringing Tim Floyd, like to his daughter's wedding. And what? And he started having him around the team. So but Dan, I don't think I knew he ever told. I know I didn't know. He told him, if you go 82-0, you still can't come back. That is like the single most drop dead line of all time. And it's not like Phil Jackson was put on him. He courted Phil Jackson the same way he courted Tim Floyd. I mean, he went and got him. He tried to put him on another coach's bench 2 years earlier, Stan Albeck's. The degree of the animosity to me was sort of stunning, even though we were there in real time.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot all about that you could go undefeated and you're still not keeping your job. But then I think Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't have blood on his hands. It's all on Jerry Krause, and that's not fair to Jerry Krause. Like, the owner I can't imagine that Jerry Reinsdorf, great businessman, would have said, I'm going to let Jerry Krause make these multi-million-dollar decisions. Jerry Reinsdorf's the one who had to pay the money. That's why this was made. He didn't want to be spending this money on Michael, and then you had Scotty, who was going to want more money. Like, I don't know. I think Reinsdorf doesn't. He gets off so far scot-free.
He does. No. Dan, you're right. One thing I wonder, though, and I think they have to explain this in the doc, and I don't know if they will. Jerry Reinsdorf at that time owned like 13% of the Bulls. I mean, it's not like Jerry Jones, or Dan Snyder, or somebody who's got, complete control. He owned like 30. Now it's I don't know what percentage it is. It's a whole lot more than that. But I just wonder if and Reinsdorf didn't meddle. Remember the White Sox team that won and got rid of Frank Thomas, and you had all of that anxiety going on. I shouldn't say anxiety, conflict. Remember, he left that to Kenny Williams. I mean, Kenny Williams was his president and GM, and Kenny Williams handled it. And at one point told Frank, get out. I mean, I don't want to see you. And a Hall of Fame first baseman, while you're trying to win your first World Series since 1917, was banished, and Reinsdorf had nothing to do with it. So I don't know. There's some consistency in the approach there.
The Isaiah Thomas stuff I find fascinating, just because it still exists. Let me start with, if I said you had to bet a week's pay, pardon the interruption money, that Michael didn't want Isaiah on the Dream Team, and said that to the commissioner of the NBA, you would say what, Michael Wilbon?
Well, we got to get the sequence. If I'll bet you that he didn't want him. Yeah. I mean, I know he didn't want him.
That's true.
Now, if the bet was that Michael Jordan was the guy, was the person who prevented this, I would bet you the other way. I'd bet you a month's salary that wasn't the case. There were 9 guys, best of my knowledge. There were 9 guys who, at least, so David Robinson would never, ever,
that's true,
ever say he didn't want anything, right?
Yeah.
And Stockton was just he was John Stockton, like he didn't know what he wanted. And I don't even know that they knew what he wanted. And Christian Laettner had no stripes, so he had no say in anything. But if either all 9 or a great majority of those 9 said they felt the same way, it was known how they felt, they made it known. And so.
But Mike, you had Chuck Daly, Isaiah's coach, as the coach of the Dream Team. How does Chuck Daly address that with Isaiah?
It was probably tense. And remember, if Jerry Reinsdorf has no blood on his hands, Chuck has none. I mean, look.
Oh, I think Chuck, he was overruled. I don't think.
No. It was more than overruled. But Chuck knew that team, for that team to function the way they wanted to function, they believed. I'm not going to say this is true. They believed. Remember, they believed that. They didn't want Isaiah, that it wasn't going to function that way that summer. They wanted to have like a summer camp. And so Bird and Isaiah had their dust up. Magic and Isaiah even, they had been best friends, but not then. Michael, Charles, Karl Malone. You can go through the roster again. The only one that would just say, I'm happy to be here, I'm happy to have anybody, is David Robinson. And I don't even know that David Robinson had nothing to say, but this was not about Michael Jordan stopping the inclusion of Isaiah Thomas. There were way more voices than that.
I just think that the dream team was on vacation. It was a summer vacation. They wanted to have fun. Michael wanted to, have some drinks, cigars, play golf, and go out and kick Angola's ass. That's it. He didn't care. And Isaiah would have been a buzzkill. He wanted to have fun he wanted to play golf with the coach, Chuck Daly. That's all Mike wanted to do. He wanted to have fun. He wanted the environment to have fun. And I think that's probably why he was saying, Isaiah's not going to be fun. He's not one of us.
Again, I don't frame it in terms of what Mike wanted. By the time Mike signed on, other people had made whatever known. Remember, Rod Thorne goes back to Michael Jordan and says, I got Bird, I got Magic, I got whoever I got. And Michael says, okay, good. By that point, again, Michael doesn't have to carry the weight of all of that. And I know it's tough to dredge up. I've talked to Isaiah. I know he's got to feel bad. Isaiah Thomas, and by the way, I'm not going to justify whether or not people should have who they want on a summer camp team. I'm not going to get into that issue. But Isaiah Thomas had made the Olympic team in 1980. They didn't compete.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get the chance to be on in 1992. And so I know that this, but by the way, this is a nice discussion to have on Isaiah's 59th birthday, right? Which is today. And I get it. I get that, like, seeing all this again is not making him feel great. And I'm sure the others say, well, the others, their position is he earned it, right? He was the face of a great team and a franchise that was a polarizing team and franchise.
And beat up Michael Jordan. They went out.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, that team beat up Michael Jordan. Yes. Do you think that Isaiah froze out Michael in the All-Star game?
I don't know. I think they probably all did. I'm not putting that all on Isaiah. I mean, it's too easy to frame it as
Isaiah versus Mike. I know.
Larry didn't have any. Larry Bird didn't operate on his own free will in 1985. Of course he did, if that was the case, and they were teammates. I mean,
but Mike didn't have anything but praise. Larry didn't have anything but praise for Mike.
Well, yeah. But
he called him God. He said God disguises. I mean, is there a better compliment that's ever been uttered about an athlete?
No. But he also was 6-0 against him in the playoffs.
That's true. That's true. All right, before
three-game sweeps.
Let me get this. Mark Cuban tweeted out he thinks this Disney resort possibility could salvage the NBA season, where you get everybody in a centralized location. There's no travel. You're going to set up a couple of basketball arenas. You have a couple of games a day. You could televise it. It's everything on site there. So what do you think about that possibility?
It's everything on site with a partner. Your partner, Disney, ABC, ESPN,
my old partner.
Your old partner. My current partner.
Your partner.
And so, yes, you got all that. But let me ask you this, Dan. And I had this posed to me by a former player who would know. He says, let me ask you this. So you're going to have 21 and 23 and 25 and even 30-year-old men, but the ones in their early 20s. You're going to do what? You're going to put a hall monitor with a rifle by each door, and you're going to keep them from going out at night. You can't go on Instagram any day now and not see, first of all, professional athletes in a group of others, not to mention just people.
I just saw Devin Booker Booker got into a car with one of the Jenner girls the other day, reportedly. I mean, that's understandable, but
I was going to say this judgment there. I'm going to create an exception for that. But Dan, still, they got the basketball part figured out. They got the TV piece figured out. They got the testing part figured out. Oh, wait, we can't find two of our guys. Of course, you can't find them. You can't find them when everything is going right in the world. And now you're going to find them now. Seriously, that's something that's a piece they got to figure out.
Did you pipe in the noise there? Like, it feels like that's the Masters birds that you piped in there in your background.
Remember, it's early here. It's earlier, 3 hours earlier on this coast, and birds are still chirping. And
okay, it just feels
you know me well enough to know I would not be up this early if not for you.
Did you pipe in those sounds? Okay. Let me see what you got. That now, is this the crib that I've been to, or did you upgrade? Oh, okay. I
No,
didn't.
this is the house the house that Barkley built. And,
How far are you from
Barkley book
Barkley?
money. Well, about 15 minutes.
And do you play golf with him?
We have not done anything that, the golf courses here are open, Dan.
Yeah.
And you can get out. I have gotten out with my son to play 9 holes, and he says, Dad, the first day he says, Dad, we're supposed to be 6 feet from people, right? I go, yeah. He goes, we're 300 yards from anybody.
I know.
What's the problem with a golf course? And he's 12, right? And so Charles and I have talked a couple of times, but we have not convened yet. That would be, your mood is a lot greater here, Dan. I feel guilty a little bit about being here instead of back east at home. I don't feel guilty enough to come back, but I know the hardship and the stress level is a lot greater there than it is here.
I would practice, social distancing with my putting. So if I'm 6 feet away from the hole, that's a gimme, Mike, because I can't let it get closer. All right.
Hey, your putting is better than that. Come on.
Nah. You know what? Barkley wants us to do a show at his compound.
Good. He's got space.
Oh, I know. He goes, I got a guest house there. And I said, all right.
Listen, I mean, I'm hoping there's a smoke and cigars thing on the docket.
Oh, yeah.
And so you could set up and that'd be fun at Charles's. It's nice of me to now invite people to my neighbors at Charles's. Yes, nothing's changed much. More birds, I think. More birds.
Apparently. Tell Mr. Tony we said hello. Great to talk to you, Mike.
It's good to talk to you, man. Good to see you. Stay safe.
Thank you, Michael. That's Michael Wilbon.